Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. I'm sending you all love and high vibrations. Hope you're having an incredible week so far. We have a lot to get into today since I released my last video. I appreciate everyone's support. It's been beautiful to watch our community working together over the past week as everything's unfolded. The Wolfpack is legendary. I have so much love for all of you. So shout out to the waters above wolves. Much love. So in today's video, we're going to recap the markets over the past couple days to review the key dates I shared of July 19th and 20th, and I'll be sharing a Gematria decode and getting into my outlook for the rest of this week and a couple more key dates to keep in mind. Also, since my channel has been growing a lot recently, there has been a lot of scammers in the comments section, so I'd appreciate if you all go over to my official website, watersabovecrypto.com, and just subscribe there to stay up to date on any new releases or updates. I have some exciting new projects coming out soon that I can't wait to share with you. I'll be updating everyone through my website and my Patreon, which is patreon.com/watersabove, which are my only two official websites I use for communications outside of this YouTube channel. And I just want to make sure that everyone's getting updated from a legitimate source, so I appreciate every single one of you. If you don't see the pop-up when you visit my website, you'll see a little subscribe box at the bottom. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria Numerology and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So, in my last video, we discussed the July 19th and 20th as dates to look out for, and so far that has actually been the microcycle peak. So over here on our charts, we could see right there on July 20th, Bitcoin approaching 24,000, the breakout starting on the 18th of July, which is actually the 19th of July over in Australia and New Zealand, and then the transition time out of that daily close into July 19th, which was in the title of the last video I released. We officially broke out of this horizontal trading range that we were stuck in since early June. So this is going on about 30 days or so. And this is actually a pretty critical breakout, and we're going to be getting into the TA in a moment. But for the date, the exact date of the breakout starting on that time frame that we released, that shows you the significance of getting into this esoteric code, of taking Gematria, numerology, and astrology a little bit more seriously regarding how you analyze the markets. And of course, that's what my channel's all about. So what's interesting about this as well is the date numerology of the 19th of July being the 23 as the standard date numerology. And that was actually the breakout target for Bitcoin. It broke out to 23K on that exact date. And another significant connection behind that 23, of course, comes back to Bitcoin being 23 in the Chaldean cipher when you're doing Gematria. Okay, so of course this was actually the date before the 22, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. July 18th being the 22 standard date numerology, and if we go to July 18th right here, that was actually the closing price of Bitcoin. It closed at 22K leading into the 18th. Again, considering the standard date numerology could be very helpful, not only for just tying it into the names of specific things, whether it's the name of the crypto or the ticker symbol or the name of the company or the CEO tied to the company. It could just be used for price. We've been doing that for a while here, and I'm going to get even deeper as we go. So again, the closing price for Bitcoin on the 18th being at 22K, that being the date numerology of that exact date. And then moving into the 23rd, we hit 23,000. And then of course, the following date, we did hit that 24,000. But more importantly, July 20th also having that 15 date numerology, and we spoke about this in my last video. So if you're brand new here and this is the first video you're watching, definitely go rewatch my last two videos before this one and then come back to this one. But if you've been following along, This number 15 has been critical this year because that 15 comes back to Tiger, and we are currently in the Chinese year of the Tiger. You could see that right there, but let's break it down a little bit more to cryptocurrency. So again, this date numerology being the standard date 15 and ETH being 15. The ticker symbol for Ethereum, you could see that 15 right there. And Ethereum actually closed that date at $1,500. So it's also 1500 currently as we're making this video. Now that's another connection to this date numerology and the exact price. So be considerate of this stuff, guys. This code is incredible. So another connection that was being made was this date of July 20th moving over to September 26th, which is Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year, or the last day of the Shemitah. You can see it being 68 days. And we made this connection to the date being Wednesday, which is the day of Mercury. And Mercury is Hermes. So Hermes giving you that 68. All right. And again, this being 68 days and this exact date of the 20th being that little top date. So moving in, Bitcoin hit that top of 24,200. And when we say top, we're just talking about a micro cycle. So when we're discussing the micro cycle, we're looking at it through the lenses of the moon cycle, when we have full moons and when we have new moons. And to clear up a little bit of confusion about that, because I've noticed some people were interested, they're trying to get a little bit more of a deep dive into the lunar cycle. And I made so many YouTube videos about this, so 100% for free. You can just follow all my videos month after month, and you'll know that when we're looking at the lunar cycle, it's pretty much bearish 5 days before up to 5 days after a full moon, which is this white dot, and we're bullish either 5 days before up to 5 days after a new moon. Okay, so think about it. Lows around full moons, highs around new moons. And what happens is when we have eclipses, don't consider what I just said. Eclipses are different and they're much more powerful, but you could kind of use them in regards to your overall analysis. So when you know the market is in a more bearish phase and you have an eclipse coming up, you could anticipate that eclipse to be more bearish. And in reverse, it's the opposite. So when the market is more in a bullish phase, and we determine this bullish and bearishness off of trend, okay? So for instance, Bitcoin hitting top here, this was considered continuation of an uptrend because it broke the prior all-time high. It even held support coming back to this prior trading range. Now, when it came down to here and held these levels, that was all par for the course because we had higher lows. Higher lows are continuation of an uptrend. But then when we started making these lower highs from coming down and then a break of support right here in this fractal, that is now when we've changed trend. Okay, so we've been talking about this for a while now, and considering that we have Rosh Hashanah coming up very soon and eclipses happening in late October and late November, those are, to me, based in all of my experience and the way that I'm analyzing this market, that is going to be the greatest buying opportunity for this market. Okay, and when I say this market, I'm not just isolating it to the cryptocurrency asset class. I'm considering all asset classes. We might even have a housing market crash. Okay, so this isn't really my opinion. If you study this Shemitah 7-year cycle, you're going to see kind of how this works. And by me giving you this information about the eclipses, it gives you an even more micro sense. And by getting into the moon cycle, just the regular new moon and full moon, now you have a swing trading indicator. So this has been an incredible way of just simplifying everything and making it, really, really basic for people. You just look up a moon calendar. It's really easy to find, free online, and you just can swing trade these new moons and full moons. And if you just follow what I'm saying about this window of energy, whether it being the exact date of the full moon, we get a low like we did just recently. And if it's a couple of days shy of the new moon being the microcycle top, then that's perfectly fine. The whole thing here is there's a strategy involved, okay? And when you combine this esoteric, utilization with the TA, with actually knowing how to read the charts, this is where you become a powerhouse in the market, because you have this extra layer, this fundamental base layer that a lot of people that just get into the charts, they're unaware of. But you guys have access to this. And that's what makes this community so strong, and why we're going to be able to get through all these moments, whether it's a bear market or a bull market. It doesn't really matter because we're operating in a wolf market. So let's get back to the dates. We saw what happened. We saw how it transpired. So what we're going to consider moving forward starts with today. We knew that today's date numerology, the way that I like to add them up with double digits, you're going to get the 70. Now, this 70 is a key number because that is the connection to Shemitah. Again, the release, the sabbatical year. And you could see that 70 right there. So that's definitely something to be said. Also, today being the 21st, that 21 number ties to Saturn, and everything about the Shemitah is connected to Saturn. Like we have the Sabbath day, which is a Saturday or the day of Saturn. We have the Saturn year, and the Saturn year is the Shemitah. Okay, so this is all kind of something to look into a little bit deeper. One other connection that we made that I shared before this date even happened was it being the 202nd day of the year. Okay, we talked about this in my last video as well. In the rules of numerology, you're going to remove that 0 and you get 22. And why this is so significant is because we're in the Gregorian year of 22, and we're also in the Hebrew year of 5782, which reduces down to 22, the year of the Shemitah. So that was something to take into consideration. And we're seeing some, I'm using air quotes right now, we're seeing bearish energy right now, but this is just completely normal. After we break out of a zone, it is completely normal to come and back test your prior resistance to confirm it as a new support. And that is what we're in the process of now. And I'll get into that TA in a moment. So now we're here. We've transitioned into this 202nd day of the year, the 22, the master builder, the master destroyer number. And then we're going to pivot out of that energy, of course, to 66 days between tomorrow and Rosh Hashanah. So there we have a power number. Could be something to consider. Another thing is we have that connection with the 2-4, that 24 being the zodiac logo of Jupiter. We're going to be moving into the 23rd, which is the 204th day of the year. Again, the 24. We have this date being the date numerology of 72. We know that 72 connects back to Bitcoin. We're trying to keep it very simple here with these, with utilizing this Gematria. So that's all to be considered. This is also going to be the 18 standard date numerology, and we know Shemitah in Chaldean cipher equals 18. The number 18 is very important in Judaism, and this is going to be on the day of Saturn, the Saturn day, okay? So keep that in mind. This weekend might be an interesting weekend because this is the first important date I want to share with you. So this is going to be the 24th of July. Now, it's a Sunday, the day of the sun, the day of Helios. We know that this is a transition day because Bitcoin is cryptocurrency is trading alone up until a little bit before the weekly close. Okay, so what happens a couple hours before that weekly close is we have CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, will open up. And when CME opens up, we're definitely going to have some energy kick into the markets. You see, I have some gaps labeled here, and this is going to be part of my overall analysis as we move forward. I might not get into it today, but it's very self-explanatory. Essentially, what I'm trying to say here about this date of Sunday is it might be boring all morning, and I'm considering Eastern Standard Time, by the way, because this market operates on Eastern Standard Time. It operates on the time zone of New York, okay, because it shares the same time zone with Washington, D.C., okay, and that's part of that unholy trinity I teach you guys about. We have Washington, D.C., we have the City of London, and we have the Vatican. And what's in the middle of all of that energy is Switzerland, but that's another conversation. So to get back on track here, we're going to have an interesting date coming up solely just because of this connection here. And one other thing I'll mention, but the fact that it's 2 months and 2 days, another 22 connection leading into the 22 Hebrew year, 22 Gregorian year. And another note is this is going to be the 73 date numerology. And 73 is actually the 21st prime number, okay? So you've been hearing me talk a lot about the number 21 today. Comes back to Saturn with 21. And just remember this 69 number because we've made a ton of videos about it over the past probably 2 months. So I'm going to get into something in a little bit. You know that we're in the current zodiac of Cancer when you're doing just traditional tropical zodiac, and you know that zodiac logo being the 6-9, and there's definitely some symbolism to get in here, so I'll be getting into that in a second. But just the fact that this is the 73 date numerology and this being the 21st prime number, and this will lead into Monday, which is 2 months and 1 day leading into the end of the Shemitah, and then, you know, this is the day of the moon, Monday being the day of the moon, and it has a 21 right there. So another connection coming back to the 21, the day of the moon. We also know the moon is connected to Bitcoin because moon equals 23 in Chaldean and Bitcoin equals 23 in Chaldean. And we know this market plays a very big role. The moon cycle plays a very big role in this market. And ever since Terra Luna had its crash, I think that was a big sign of kind of like what we're going to see unfold at the end of September leading into November regarding a lot of other cryptocurrencies. And I'll be, of course, expounding more upon that as we get closer to the end of the Shemitah. So one thing to mention about this date of the 25th is it's within about, 3 to 4 day window of the July new moon. This will be the new moon in Leo. And tomorrow is also the last day of Cancer, again, according to Tropical. And I also like to take into consideration the sidereal dates. I've been looking more into that as I've been, furthering my study. But as I said a little bit earlier, we know Cancer zodiac logo is that 6-9. We know that the word Saturn gives us that 69. We know that Bitcoin's all-time high is 69,000. This is pretty interesting because also if we take back to this recent market, we hit that microcycle top on the 20th, which was yesterday, that being the 6-9 date numerology, the day before that being 69 days until the end of the Shemitah. So we were talking about this 6-9 quite a bit, and it's amazing how that's all unfolding. And we also were talking about the number 15 earlier in this video. So remember, the logo of Cancer being that 6-9, the crab, and you can see right here, we got that 6-9, and we also have that 15 in the standard date numerology. Just like crab equals 15 in full reduction. These are one of the more important ciphers. I prioritize the Chaldean and the English ordinal in full reduction mostly when I'm just looking at the words. When I'm looking at prices and price targets, I love these reverse ciphers. But this connection here, perhaps, and how crab, the sign ruler of Cancer, is the moon, and we see that 15 in crab. We also have that 15 in the moon. So also in sidereal, we're still in Cancer until August 15th. So let me just show you that real quick. You can see Cancer right here. You can see sidereal. It continues on throughout until the middle of August, and this will be around the August full moon. Okay, so in tropical, we're actually moving into Leo, and remember we were talking about the number 15. Well, Leo equals 15 in Chaldean. So again, more connections here with this number 15, and it's just amazing how important the number 51 and 15 are when it comes to finances. So anyways, moving on. Tropical, we're moving into Leo in 2 days. All right, and we also have that 32 here in Leo, and remember the sign ruler is the sun, and that is Helios, and you could see that 32 right there as well. So many connections. So I'm really interested into how this is all going to work out. To get back to the dates, it's more about that 24th date. That could be something with that connection of 2 months and 2 days. Perhaps big energy boost moving into that new moon. All right. And because of the way these lunar cycles work, we could be bullish up to 5 days after the full moon. Okay. So keep that in mind. The new moon, which is happening on the 28th. So the window here of opportunity being somewhere between the 23rd leading up to the 2nd of August, basically the transition into the new month. So we're going to be following along, but let's get into the TA now. So I'm going to turn off these moon cycle indicators. I'm going to turn off all these drawings, and we're just going to keep it simple. All right. So the first thing you see here is this moving average of this white line. It is the 55 simple moving average. And that was a very key level with multiple rejections. We got a rejection on the wick of the 19th. We got a rejection on the closure. And then again, another rejection here on the wick happening today. And you can see this white moving average is sort of converging with this yellow moving average. This is what we call the wolf cross. It is the 8 simple moving average and the 55 simple moving average. They're pinching together. The price is going to be constricted within those levels. I could turn this off really quickly and we could turn on the Bollinger Bands, and we could see a couple of things to also consider. Even after multiple daily closes above the topside Bollinger Band, which is typically bullish, plus holding the closure level yesterday on the topside Bollinger Band, today rejected inside of the band. And you could see that median band somewhere around that 21,000 level, which is definitely a psychological level. When we're looking at this from the EMA band, we're going to see it's all coiling up around that 21K level. So let's just consider what this EMA band is doing. We are slowly approaching a bullish posture, but we are not in a bullish posture yet. Okay. What I've taught you guys, and I did, get a little bit into this a couple videos ago. I would like to see this EMA band with the blue above the red, and we still have the red on top. And ever since the red gets on top, we have a more bearish structure. When we have the blue, with the red on top, it is bearish. With the blue on top, it is bullish. And you can see that follows the trajectory. Whenever we have this red and blue in that structure, we're typically in a downtrend. When we have them cross where the blue is above the red, we typically go bullish, and it continues. Okay, so that's a little bit more advanced. And if you guys are more interested in the way that I utilize my moving averages and how I add all of this up together, definitely consider getting into my advanced trading course, because even if you're not actively trading right now, you can learn some of these tips and tricks. You can learn how to utilize these ideas for setups and then paper trade. And by the end of the Shemitah, then you can start actively trading. That's a long enough time frame to really learn what you're doing. And I'm a very conservative trader. I'm very conservative with my approach when I design that course. So it's not like a moon boy use 10x leverage nonsense. It's very, very conservative, very calculated, and based on protecting yourself from losing trades, continuing to make winning trades by keeping all of this stuff in mind. So I would like to see this blue moving average, the 13 exponential, get above the 34 exponential. Until then, I would consider that could be a backtest level. Considering that aligns with the 8 simple moving average and we're getting rejections on the 55, again, this is another sign that we needed to backtest this horizontal resistance level as a potential new support. So in English, this level right here of 21.7 into 21.5, that could be underway. Where we are today is just backtesting this prior wick level. And with the way crypto works, unfortunately, that's all we need. Crypto is extremely volatile. It is not like any other asset class. So when you're doing the TA on this kind of stuff, you can be playing off of wicks. So when it comes to building positions and analyzing this market, you definitely need to be ready for volatility to kick in at any minute. As fast as we fall down is as fast as we can come back up. So structurally, as long as Bitcoin is continuing to hold this level here on the daily close around $21,600, this is a completely normal trading range. So keep that in mind. If Bitcoin is going to come down to the 21.5 level, which is normal, we could definitely see some more blood in the streets for the altcoins. We can see wicks coming down to 28, so 20,800, and that could happen anytime over the next couple days. But more importantly, as long as Bitcoin's holding structure, and we get eventually a daily close above that 21.4, 21.5 level, that's all it will take to continue up to the next level. So the reason why I'm a little bit more adamant about what I just said is this red candle here. There's thin air between this level that we've closed at recently and where this structure comes up to about 28.5. All right, thin air. So the time that it took Bitcoin to fall through those levels is the same amount of time it could take to get back up. All right. So consider that there's a big opportunity actually for Bitcoin to get back to the 28K level, even by early August, even by the new moon of August, believe it or not, which would be coming in at the 27th, very late. So that's about a month away. But that type of patience is what pays off, especially for anyone who's like trying to get out of the market at the last minute before the end of the Shemitah, which is a respectable move to consider. So that type of analysis is what I'm, looking at. And ultimately on these higher time frames, we know we had a bi-weekly close recently. It was a bullish engulfing. It does look like a bottoming structure. We have this weekly close so far. Big wick. We have plenty of time to go. Crypto trades through the weekend, so I wouldn't get into analyzing this right now. We know we have a 5-day closure today, and so far, this is looking normal. So completely fine. Either it was yesterday or into today, but ultimately it doesn't really matter unless we started closing 5 days below 20,600. So even on the more macro timeframes, this is looking fine on the breakout. And I will say this before moving into ETH. It is better that Bitcoin slows down because we want to keep that RSI in check, okay? We don't just want the RSI mooning up because then we're going to get heavy rejections. We know that this is going to kind of work out. And I'm sure on the smaller timeframes currently, we're probably putting in some bearish divergences. And that, again, those things can get cleared out very quickly with how volatile this asset class is. So getting to Ethereum and kind of looking at things through the lenses of what I shared before, we have something different right now, okay? You can see this is the daily chart for ETH, and we have this yellow moving average has crossed above that 55. That is what I call a wolf cross, and it's completed. And now what we do is we want to anticipate these moving averages because could get back tested, all right? And a lot of thin air between here and the 200s. But let's look at our exponential moving averages, and you're going to see something different than Bitcoin again, okay? And you see this blue moving average that I talked about with the Bitcoin chart is above the red. Okay, so this is good. This is a good sign on ETH, all right? ETH a little bit overheated on RSI, getting rejected right at that, getting into oversold territory. But this is crypto. We know the RSI on daily could go to 90. But just to keep it simple, with this orange moving average getting above that 34 EMA, that would be in a full bullish posture. The 13 above the 21 above the 34. Now, this is a good sign. When you see this EMA band with the blue above the red, plus you get a wolf cross with the 8 above the 55, those are all good signs, okay? That's all very bullish stuff. So looking at the Bollinger Bands, we have a very similar scenario to Bitcoin where we were closing dailies on the outside of the top side band, and then recently we've started closing within them. So the bands were constricting very tight. Now they started to open up because of that recent breakout, and we're not really too expanded. There's nothing crazy going on here. And like I said, it's almost better that we got rejected slightly around that 69.70 level on RSI because there's plenty of room for continuation above that. So that is really the overall analysis on the market. You could take a quick look at XRP. Not a whole lot going on here. We can see if I was to turn off all these moving averages, this is getting really, really constricted. It's been very, very sideways. This is kind of when you anticipate explosive moves for XRP. And I'm not a moon boy, like you guys know me. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but XRP loves to be super, super boring, super sideways, and then just go poof. And when it does that, it catches people off guard. So my trading advice for XRP is build positions when this shit is boring, okay? Because these explosions just happen out of nowhere with this coin. And we're seeing these Bollinger Bands constrict very, very tight on the daily. I mean, this is getting ready to bust. So just keep some of that in mind. And again, I'm not trying to tell anyone to go long right now. You guys know my overall feeling. The market needs to get through Q4. Between now and Q4, really showing its teeth, I do anticipate a little bit of relief. But once we get past late September, especially into the October full moon and in the October eclipse, I think we're going to see some massive change. And we might even get a black swan event. We might even have a false flag, something dealing with a war, with bank accounts. It's really kind of that territory for chaos. So structurally, we could see that XRP is back testing the EMA band, but it's still in a bearish posture where this 34 is above that the 13, but it's getting pretty close. So that's a little bit of a positive sign. And then we can see that we're about to have an incoming wolf cross on XRP on the daily chart where this 8 gets above the 55. But that's not all that is good. We do need some other confirmations, and I shared that a little bit earlier in this video. So I'm going to end this here. It's great that we're back testing these levels. It's nice to see Bitcoin slow down. It's nice to see the DXY, continue to kind of get rejected at these higher levels. We do see bearish divergences playing out in this chart. This is the DXY, the US dollar currency index. You could see the RSI hitting around 80 when the price was, when it was around 103. And then when it hit 108, 107, you can see lower RSIs planted. So we're seeing an uptrend on price, start of a downtrend or lower highs on this RSI, but really until you start breaking below that 53, that's kind of when those confirmations would set in. I kind of want to see how this plays out. The gold chart is also super fascinating to me right now. I noticed that gold is actually back testing its horizontal support, macro support. So I might even make a Patreon video on gold soon. This is blowing my mind because usually the Shemitah is actually very neutral or positive for precious metals. This cycle, it's been totally different. I mean, this looks like shit, and I'm not saying that to be offending anyone. It just is what it is. Seeing gold retest these supports is pretty amazing. So I have a ton of TA that I've been working on in the background for those people that are interested in this. And this is going to be a part of the whole macroeconomic conversation moving into the end of Shemitah. The precious metals will play a role in that. So if we see any market corrections, any market slides, we will see a correction in precious metals. Bet that. I know people have, fought me on this before. And again, I'm a technical analyst. I'm looking at this from an analytical perspective, looking at the charts, and I'm a chronologist as well. I study the cycles of the past, and I'm not seeing any times where these big market crashes have been leaving precious metals unscathed. They're just part of the market. They're part of this fraudulent market as a whole. Now, that's not me saying that gold and silver are bad investments or a bad store of wealth. That's a totally different conversation. Just as a chart analyst and a student of this market, this is a very interesting setup we got here on this horizontal trading range coming down into these supports. We might even have what's called a Wyckoff spring eventually, or this could have been the completion of the Wyckoff accumulation cycle, and this might be heading into a distribution. And that's really fascinating, especially with this economy we have today. So I don't want to take up too much time in this video. I think this is a perfect place to end it. We went into a lot of TA, probably more than usual. I wanted to bring you guys a ton of value. Again, go over to my website, watersabovecrypto.com. You could subscribe over here. Stay up to date on my new projects coming out. I have 2 new announcements that I'm really excited to share. I already let my Patreon members know about it. I'm really stoked to release this new course I have coming out, Expansion Mastermind. So I'll be catching you guys on tomorrow's Friday live hangout. Excited to chill with everyone. It'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then over the weekend, I'll be releasing my Red Pill podcast. Appreciate every single one of you. Much love.